In the emails, we have quite a bit of stuff to talk about. We have two short presentations, and then I'm going to talk about the Fairfax Master Plan. So I'm going to start us a little early, and we're going to move along quick. If there's things that maybe you have questions about or don't have time, we don't have time to talk about more thoroughly, and it seems like we need to talk about more, we'll have all this information out on the website, and we can keep communication going on any of these topics. So just so you know, we have that option as well. So I'm going to pull out my notes so I remember what I'm doing. So welcome to the Fairfax Industrial Association Luncheon for March. It's hard to believe it's March already, but we missed January because of the weather, and I wasn't here last month because of the flu. But I know you guys all heard a good presentation from Dan Desko with the B-25 Bomber Group. So, and you'll hear more about that and the B-25 Bomber and the master plan. Let's see. Thank you to BPU for hosting and sponsoring the luncheon today. Thank you, Steve. We have an awesome facility and great for our PowerPoint presentation and help us out a lot. And I forgot to have more tables and chairs because we got lots of people coming, and they scrambled around, brought all those in like an hour ago and helped me out a lot. So I really appreciate all of your work. And Sarah, thank you for videoing the luncheon. Sarah's with Blackjack. We can give her a little round of applause real quick. Wanted to, trying to work on new things, and one of the things that our web person is like, you need to start videoing your luncheons. So we're working on that. So hopefully you saw last month we recorded Dan Desko's presentation. It's on the website, so you can pull that up if you missed it, like I did, and see what went on. So, and also, what else do I need to think of mention? Well, we have Jay Adams and Chief Ziegler here, who's Kansas City, Kansas Police Chief. They're going to talk about the honor campaign here in a minute. And we, I also have, oh my gosh, I just lost his name. Burns and McDonald and, okay, where are you? Ron? I'm so sorry. I did not write your name down. Ron, and they're going to talk about the I-70 loop that's on the north side of Kansas City, Missouri. I don't know if any of you have heard this, but there's a lot of discussion and ideas about changing that. And that would definitely affect traffic flow into Kansas City or into Fairfax. So that's something we also want to talk about. And then the Fairfax Master Plan. There's also on your table these little cards is the KCK Chamber Annual Luncheon, and that's April 4th. So take a look at that. KCK Chamber is one of our partners, and we want to promote, that's their big annual event. So hopefully you're going to be attending that. I also wanted to mention we have our placemats. So these little spots on here, you can have your business advertised for $300 for the year. So keep that in mind. We have several on there that are advertisers, but we have a lot of people that come to the luncheons, and it's a great way to promote your business. The Fairfax Festival, I think I mentioned, is scheduled for October 4th, and so we'll be sending sponsorship information out on that, and more information will be coming, but that's a big event. We had over 350 people there last year, and it's down at Caw Point Park. So the sponsorships are also available already on the website, so if you want to, or even just check out what the festival's about. We have a lawn game tournament, we have boat rides, we have, what else? Food. Where's my festival committee? What all do we have? A band, we have live music, a photo booth, that was new last year. What else? A beer and wine garden. How do we, for Joe? You need to remind me of that. Reenactment of Lewis and Clark. So check it out. We have lots of neat pictures on the website. You can see it's a really fun event, and hopefully you all mark it on your calendars now to make sure you can attend. The next thing I want to do, and I always kind of forget, but I'm going to remember, is to go around and very quickly everyone introduce themselves. So if you want to, we're going to start at this table with David, who's our host, and if you just want to stand up and say your name loud so people can hear you and the business you're with.
David Melhoff, BPU.
Erin BPU, she's a dog.
Al Garcia, BPU.
Bob Miles, BPU board member.
David Allen, DPU, and we're having a seminar on a solar farm, 2 sessions on March the 19th, and a sign-up challenge. If you're interested in getting solar at your house without getting solar at your house, it's time to come out and see how to do that. Okay, March 19th, 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock at the Wyandotte West Library. That's my commercial.
How you doing? Carlos Piasco, Board of Public Utilities.
And also Fairfax board member. So mention that too, board members. Guys want to go over there?
Steve Erickson, UMB Bank.
Ryan Gentry, Water Technologies.
Dave Beachfront, UMB.
Kelly Case with OSI Soft.
Tom Ball, Water Technologies.
Don, you want to start your table?
Dawn Parker, Blackjack Tire Supplies.
Andy Perrigan, Blackjack Tire Supplies.
Shelley Higginbotham, Honor Campaign.
Cindy Eaton, Honor Campaign.
Mark Naberger, Central Solutions.
Chris Narberga, Central Solutions.
Justin Karleski, Central Power Systems and Services.
Okay. Luann, you guys want to start?
American Equipment.
Doug Keith, American Equipment.
I'm Mary Gonzalez, I serve on the board of the DPU. Angel Lawson, DPU and Anti-Government.
Danny Cumming, H3 YMCA.
Alan Bush, Alpha Omega Geotech.
Steve Daly, Fairfax Drainage and FIA board member.
Kirby Watt, British Engineers.
Mike Martin with Capital Electric Construction and also a board member.
John Hassel with Newmark Zimmer Commercial Real Estate. John Lotenzer with Neff Packaging in Fairfax and also a board member.
Ian Reardon of the Reardon Pallet Company. Brad Hines with Phoenix Metals.
Ron Barncourt with the Casey Racing Company.
You guys want to start?
Zach Flanders, Unified Government Planning Department.
Zach's also helping me do the presentation.
Ken Ham, Argosy Casino Hotel and Spa.
Sarah Blaisdell Brook, Argosy Casino Hotel and Spa.
Carol Larson, Argosy Casino Hotel and Spa.
Ron Shikowitz, Burns McDonald.
Terry Ziegler, Kansas Police Department.
Ken Anderson, KCK Police Department.
Julie Robertson, Yo Services, and Vision of Dayton, and Festival Committee.
Festival committee.
Richard Reese, Wabo, and Festival Committee.
Rebecca James Ababo, Fairfax Festival.
Joe Vaught, commercial real estate broker, also a board member, also a festival, and also I'm vice chairman of the Kansas Real Estate Commission.
Jay Adams, Executive Director for the Honor Campaign, and I recognize a lot of you, and some of you are at the board meeting, so for the opportunity to share with you.
Hi, I'm Officer Brian Buda, Kansas City Police Department. I am with the Community Policing Unit, and I am the dedicated patrol unit for Fairfax.
Pam, or did you guys, Chief Ziegler, did you guys introduce yourself?
Yes.
Oh, God. See, I always start to lose my mind a little. Pam.
Pam Stone, Kansas Gas Service, and I'm on the Fairfax Committee.
Mary Kearns with Bank of Labor.
Sandra Olivas, also with Bank of Labor.
And Ashton Stevens with Bank of Labor.
Jake Morris with Aerotech.
Joe Ruback with Aerotech.
And Errol, your table? You want to start your table? Did your table go? No.
Errol Washington with IHD Solutions.
Blake Barker, Blue Hat Crane.
Matt Helms, also with Blue Hat Crane.
Marshall Dominguez, Kansas City, Kansas Community.
Regina Hain, Kansas City, Kansas Community College.
Adam Ruskowitz, First National Bank of Omaha.
And, yeah.
Rick Linus, Professional Service Industries.
Shannon Spees with the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. Roger Mashinsky, Empire Candle.
Karen Brady, Bader Linco.
Stephanie Jones, ExxonMobil.
Danielle Calhoun, ExxonMobil.
Steve Helvey, Hayes Companies.
I'm Sam Knoll with Watchman Security. I just became a member actually. It's my first time.
Excellent,
So.
thank you.
Nick Jordan with the Honor Campaign.
Great. And you guys, you can use these chairs up here too.
It was a good view.
I got clearance from the people at BPU. So if we don't have enough chairs, feel free to use the board member chairs. All right, well, thank you so much. Welcome, and we're going to get this rolling. I'm already running a few minutes behind because I started a little late. So Jay and Chief Ziegler, if you guys want to come up, we're going to have them present the honor campaign. I know you probably all have seen on the news starting yesterday that there was another officer shot and killed in the line of duty in Clinton, Missouri, and this is their second officer killed in the last 7 months. The same thing happened here at Kansas City, Kansas in 2016. So this is kind of what this honor campaign is all about.
Melissa, thank you so much, and the board for giving us an opportunity here to share about the honor campaign and our up-and-coming Golfing for Heroes tournament, which will be at Top Golf April 22nd. But before I get started on my presentation and speech, I'd like to introduce one of our board members, honor campaign board member, Nick Jordan. He is the former Kansas Secretary of Commerce and Secretary of Revenue for the state of Kansas.
Forgive me for the revenue part.
Nick has agreed to serve on the honor campaign board, and so we are heading towards becoming, and I need to clarify this, we are heading towards becoming a 501c3 organization. And we do have some national groups that are already looking to help us with the national campaign. So again, Melissa, board members, thank you so much. I already had a chance to speak in front of them. A little bit about the honor campaign. In 2016, in response to the brutal attacks on the law enforcement and emergency responder communities across our nation, including Clinton, Missouri, a small group of business owners in Kansas decided it was time to take action. As a show of solidarity and support for our fallen first responders, their families, and their brothers and sisters in duty, the honor campaign's mission was sparked into life. That mission is to honor and remember those fallen heroes and their selfless sacrifices by telling their story for any and all to hear. It really is our vision that the work we do locally with various metropolitan departments, such as Chief Ziegler and his team, will ripple out and spread the honor campaign to the 50 states. We strongly believe each and every hero we've tragically lost, giving their last full measure of devotion, deserves to have their stories told and remembered for generations to come. Let me take a moment to talk about the honor campaign's recent tribute to a fallen first responder. On September, excuse me, I get a little emotional on this. No, I'm fine. On September 11th, 2016, just hours after celebrating his daughter's 4th birthday, I knew I couldn't do this. Johnson County Master Sheriff Deputy Brandon Collins lost his life in a drunken driver accident that hit his patrol car. After this terrible tragedy, the honor campaign approached Johnson County Sheriff's Office with the idea to honor Brandon Collins through a product called Tribute Stone Audio Storytelling Monuments. And you'll see the three there in the right-hand corner, what they look like. With the support and partnership of local civic and business leaders, the Honor Campaign, along with Sheriff Hayden and his team, were able to dedicate a tribute stone audio monument honoring Master Sheriff Deputy Brandon Collins, his family, on the first anniversary of his death, September 11th, 2017, last fall. Aaron, I believe we have a video of Sheriff Hayden talking about Brandon Collins and his tribute stone monument. Oh, sure.
It should, it did earlier when I took. All right, everybody, take a deep breath into
No.
technology. Two things. Would you get what she's saying? No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Would you- Aaron's working on it, do you want to go?
Yeah,
ahead?
no, I wanted Chief Ziegler to come up after the video and speak about what we're doing for the city of Kansas City, Kansas, and the fallen officers. So we can go ahead and do that part.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Here.
Yes.
They can really hear you now.
Test. Okay. My name's Chief Ziegler with the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. Back in 2016, in May and July, we lost two officers. We lost Brad Lancaster in May and Dave Melton in July. Both died as a result of being shot and killed in the line of duty. We have a memorial. I don't know if all of you are familiar with it. It's in front of City Hall right now. It sits on the north side of the, I don't know what you'd call that, the main entrance of City Hall. Well, the tribute stones, what they're going to enable us to do is, they do tell a dramatized story of what happened to the officers on the day that they were killed. On Brad Lancaster's, because the case has been adjudicated already, when this monument is put up there, we're wanting to put them in front of the memorial to bring the memorial live for people. We have the actual radio transmissions of Brad Lancaster prior to being shot, and that's going to be part of the recording. The reason this is important for us is that, you know, the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department's done a pretty poor job in trying to memorialize and capture our history and things that have happened to us and different things. And this tribute stone is going to enable us to continually tell the story of the sacrifice of not only those two officers, but the other 18 names listed on the memorial there. It'll bring it to life. We never want to forget their sacrifice, but we also want to make sure that we educate the young people that are going to be coming in our community and becoming leaders. They need to know the sacrifices that people have made prior to them for this community.
Sorry. I got it.
So, I appreciate any and all support that you might give to the Honor Campaign. We appreciate it. We think that this is going to be really help keep the officers' memory alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Ziegler. So before, we're going to listen to this in just a minute, just so you understand. So this honor campaign, basically we want to get 3 tribute stones up at City Hall. They cost $10,000 each, so it's $30,000, which is really not a lot for a community our size, a business group our size in Kansas City, Kansas, and others. I think everyone feels strongly about honoring those that have been killed in the line of duty. So I will send more information out. I sent one email blast out, but we will be sending more information out to raise this money to get these tribute stones put together. The event at Top Golf is in April, and Top Golf is fun. Anyone can do it. Even I can hit the ball there. So you can sponsor bays. There's like a $10,000 premier bay. Is that right?
Superhero Bay.
Superhero bay. There's also another bay that you can sponsor for $2,500. You can also just attend and participate, and the donations will all go to raise the money for these tribute stones. You can also just donate money to it. This is something we all need to participate and support and get these tribute stones up. And so please look for the information. Marty Quinn, who I don't think is here, as soon as I sent the email out, he's like, I'll give you $1,000, I mean immediately. So hopefully we're going to start getting this going and getting this money raised. So you can go ahead and listen to this if it wants to work. Of course it's not. It's probably not working because I'm here. I'm like the worst for technology. Okay, well,
yeah.
We'll go ahead and move. We got to move on.
Sure.
But this is a beautiful thing. And Jay, did you want to say anything else?
Well, actually, you finished the rest of my presentation, but that's okay. No, that's okay. Obviously, I was, Brandon Collins is, and all the fallen officers is a very emotional piece for us. No? Okay.
Okay.
Well, real quick, I'm looking forward to connecting with some of you that I've already connected with in the past couple weeks. And the other opportunity, I'd like to offer my services. If you want me to come and speak with you and your leadership team at your business, I'd be glad to do so. We can talk more about the Golfing for Heroes and the Honor Campaign and its future mission and vision. But we're looking for this group here to help with the Golfing for Heroes tournament, April 22nd at Topgolf. So we do have a sponsorship prospectus out at our table. We may have some more over here. I have business cards. If you'd like to take my business card, again, I'd love to connect with all of you. And again, Melissa, thank you so much, and I apologize for my emotional makeup.
No, it's real. You know, this is an emotional thing, and it's getting harder and harder. But Chief Ziegler to tell you to recruit officers because it's a tough job. And you put your life on the line. So thank you so much, and please, everyone, make sure you stop by where they have that set up out there, and let's give Jay a round of applause. And before I introduce Ron Shaikovitz, I'm getting closer. I just want to let you know also, if you want to, as we're speaking, step out and get more food. We had like a whole other round of food underneath and warmers. So let's not waste it. So make sure you get that food. I was like, God, I can't believe we're already running out of food. And that's because we had a whole bunch more. So you can step out, get more food, whatever. But I'm going to introduce Ron Shaikovitz, and I keep messing up his last name. But he's with Burns and McDonald, and he's going to talk about the I-70 loop.
Yep, everybody uses this thing anyway. So, briefly, Burns and McDonald is working with our study partners in Mid-America Regional Council, Kansas City, Missouri. Missouri Department of Transportation is the primary three partners on this project contractually and leadership, but because of the possible impacts with KDOT and the unified government, we've also elicited these folks on our team. This is a planning and environmental linkages study. It is a precursor to what we call NEPA, which is when we do EAs and EISs for imminent projects. I want to start this presentation off by there is nothing imminent on any of the strategies and any of the ideas we're talking about here, with the exception of the planning for a new Buck O'Neill Bridge, formerly known as the Broadway Bridge. So this study, it covers a pretty robust area. The beige area, or the shaded area to the right, is what we're calling the study area for the direct impacts from a traffic standpoint and from a land use standpoint. Basically covers the northwest and east sides of the loop, and also all the way into Kansas City, Kansas, and predominantly also up on 169. The little graphic to the left, that is an area that shows the entire area of traffic, potential traffic impacts that some of the ideas that we're looking at could have on the region. So we wanted to make sure we didn't leave any stones unturned with regard to what the traffic could be. So the first question is, why are we doing this now? The O'Neill Bridge, I'm going to keep calling it that because it's going to etch itself in my mind, because I still call it the Broadway like most of y'all probably do, was built actually before the previous Paseo Bridge that had been since replaced. About 5 or 6 years ago, MoDOT did an assessment on it. It was going to need some either heavy rehabilitation or replacement. At that time, Kansas City, Missouri asked a simple question: if we're going to be doing this, let's make sure that whatever we do with a bridge that's typically planned to live 100 years can lend itself to our long-range plans for what we want to do with downtown Kansas City, Missouri. Because as we all know around here, the last 10, 15 years, Kansas City has really grown and busted open. And why lock ourselves back into the problems that are there now? So if we're going to put a bridge in, let's make sure it can work with the sundry possibilities that we could do, particularly on the North Loop in downtown Kansas City. So about a year ago, we did some visioning studies, and before we drew one line on a piece of paper, we asked about a half a dozen questions. I'm just going to kind of highlight a couple of them. But the first thing is, what do you see out of downtown Kansas City? And out of the people that showed up at this meeting and responded online afterwards, the #1 response was a vibrant, thriving, mixed-use community. We also asked some questions about where would they see their focus with regard to future planning, and beyond the median there and in the middle, about 51% of the folks saw more of a development focus, and the other 34% saw it from a transportation focus. So what we started to do is look at what we could do from an infrastructure standpoint that would kind of match up with this future of what people envision downtown to be. So we developed some strategies, and we narrowed them down. What I'm going to do in the short period of time is the final set of strategies, none of which are going to be recommended for implementation as part of this study. There's just a series of strategies that could be considered in the future. And there will be some public meetings coming on this the next couple of weeks, and I'll give you some information on that. So with regard to the bridge, we asked a question from 0 to 10. Do you want a new bridge or do you want the old bridge? Well, everyone, for the most part, wanted a new bridge, which makes sense, as opposed to retaining the existing one that's narrow, structurally pretty inefficient, and doesn't have any type of bike facilities on it. We also asked a question about where would you see the bridge being, closer to downtown or more direct connection to I-35. And on a scale to 1 to 10, the median was an 8 with an average of 6.74. The bottom line there is people are lending themselves towards maybe we should shift that bridge and let it connect a little bit better with the west side of the loop. And about 40-45% of the trips during peak hours southbound on the current bridge today is destined to I-35, and the rest comes into downtown and eastbound on I-70. So the next series of strategies that we looked at that I'm going to talk about here are 3 basic ideas of what to do with the North Loop. One of them was what we call just access consolidation, or just make some safety adjustments and get rid of a lot of those on and off ramps that are right next to each other. There's very little weave length, very little merge distances. So the bottom line is basically let the accesses happen on the end, and just and then bring Route 9 down to grade and let it intercept and extend Independence Avenue across. And on a scale to 1 to 10, that's still got some lukewarm reception. We also show some graphics of what could be done from a development standpoint associated with that, and that's mostly using some of the existing vacant space that's there on the bottom. So the next strategy we looked at, and to best describe this, is kind of like what we have on the south side of the loop on 670. It's basically narrow the footprint up, keep the 6 lanes, keep 3 in each direction, some retaining walls on both sides, and all that dark green area is additional space that would be available for development. That was received on a scale of 1 to 10, about a halfway, about a 50-50 split on people as far as their preference for that. Once again, there's the graphics of what that could be. And we looked at 3 options for this: either move the interstate to the north, to the south, or leave it on the existing alignment. And then the third one, and this is the one that seems to get the most controversy or discussion, and that's something that has been talked about for a long time, and that is basically closing the whole north side of the loop and basically making the connections on both ends, keeping 670 at 7 and south side of the loop. The west side of the loop would still be retained as 670, and the Lewis and Clark Viaduct and 670 and 70 would still be retained as the interstate system. And for the people that attended and responded afterwards, this one really got a lot of support for it. And once again, you can see the median response was 8, its average is 6.08. And Route 9 is brought back down to grade and intercepts Independence Avenue, which is converted to a 2-way arterial, as well as 6th Street below to a two-way arterial, so that feeds the local traffic into and out of downtown. And also Route 9 is kind of converted back into more of an urban arterial itself, and it brings the River Market to the west back up to Columbus Park, which is to the east. Another idea we had, I just mentioned, I won't spend any more time with it, was that Route 9 idea. And we had different strategies for that, west, east, and possible things with the streetcar connections on that. The thing I want to emphasize is none of these alternatives expand the interstate, which as a transportation plan is kind of different from how we've been doing things for the last 50 years. I think we're realizing that we can't build our way out of congestion like we used to, plus expanding technologies, plus changes in land uses and where people live, play, work. We're kind of changing the way we're doing transportation planning. I'll elaborate that a little bit more. But the information that I just shared with you was from, so far, about 1,700 people have responded online and at that previous meeting. So, and as people continue to respond to these strategies, the trends of support seems to be consistent with the ones that I just showed you earlier with regard to those strategies. So shifting directions here. So we did look at these strategies from a traffic standpoint. Of course, we looked at our current baseline conditions. We always like to evaluate how things are compared to what we recognize is happening today. We looked at a future year, 25-year future, 2040, based on the MARC, Mid-America Regional Travel Demand Long-Range Plan for no build. We also looked at the no build with a new twist, and that is what the possible effects of autonomous and connected vehicle technology could do to us. This is where we're seeing hands-on, hands-off driving, automated cruise control, things that are allowing us to actually increase our capacities and decrease our headways or how close we drive to cars as we go down the freeway system. And in 2040, we had to make some educated guesses on where that technology is going to be. We looked at our strategies under the 2040 conditions, and then we also looked at what the metrics could be from a regional standpoint with this AV-CV technology in place. Without spending a lot of fanfare and time on the results, the access consolidation, that very first one that I showed you, it improves conditions. All three of them improve conditions, but that compressed footprint, it has some associated diversions of traffic to the south, and as you can imagine, reclassifying 670 would shift all that traffic from 670 or 70, the majority of that, down to the south loop. But we did look at some ideas on how to mitigate the effects of that, with particular emphasis on the interchanges on both ends of 670. That information will be more available in the Pell study as well as some of the public meetings. I don't have time to review that. The bottom line is we looked at 2040, and the CVAV technology will offset a lot of the delay at the regional level and maybe some of the local level here. So once again, we're counting on that to a certain extent by the time 2040 comes around. From a delay standpoint, what I want to do is emphasize here is we're looking at the possibility of increasing total delay in the lower right-hand corner of 47% from what it is today at the region in 2040, before we build anything. This is before we drew one line on a piece of paper. And that is in the morning, and then in the evening up to 42%, 77% on the freeway system before we do anything. So these are the ground rules that we started with before we even started evaluating any of the strategies. This is what the future is going to be before we do anything. We looked at a study that's being done in Los Angeles that they took the freeway system and said we can increase capacity by, let's say, 20% on just the freeway system alone, and ran the models again, and we actually showed that we could reduce the delay, particularly in the freeway system, in 2040 to almost what it is today. In other words, we can almost bring us back to the delay levels that we see today with the connected vehicle and automated technology. We think that's a pretty conservative approach. But this is something that's very important for us to look at as we move forward, looking at plans for things that could be happening 10, 15, 25 years from now before we spend a lot of money on transportation infrastructure that might not be needed. So one of the issues and one of the questions that's come up is, well, for removing the interstate, what is that really going to do to us from a delay standpoint? At the regional level, once again, even if we reclassify and redesignate, which is what we're calling removal of the interstate system, if that CVAV technology is in place by 2040, we're seeing that only an increase of about 11% in delay from what's today, and actually on the freeway system actually comes down. So we're not planning on removing the interstate today, we're not planning on doing it in 5 years, but should that happen in the next 15, 20, 25 years, the effects of that technology will have a very pronounced effect on how we plan and design the highway system. So the two constraints that we've looked at, and I shared some of this information in detail with the Board of Commissioners last week, is at the southwest and the southeast corner. That's basically where we go up underneath Bartle Hall. That eastbound lane merges down into one before you get onto 670. The left lane drops and it actually goes to Central Street. I say wind up, it's actually Central. And then at the southeast quadrant, where there's a lot of lane shifting that's going on to get to 35 and 70, we came up with some ideas of how to reconfigure that and shared that with MoDOT. So we're seeing that 670 isn't really the problem. The issue is actually the interchanges on both ends. So if we fix that, we've actually shown that we can fix a lot of the problems. So this is kind of one of the ideas that we're looking at. We've shared this with MoDOT as far as squeezing an extra lane under Bartle Hall and merging them in somewhere on the other side of Bartle Hall, but getting rid of that lane drop. And we're also looking at reconfiguring some things at 670. These are just some ideas of how to solve some of the traffic issues that particularly would be related to diverting a lot of traffic to the south side of the loop. Some of these ideas could be implemented today if MoDOT wants to do it, and we're seeing some bang for our buck there, but it's a MoDOT decision to be made. We also looked at the impacts of gate-to-gate travel speeds with regard to how it affects the Fairfax district. We looked at the gate-to-gate speed from 670 across the south side of the loop and that section that goes along the south and then the west and then up to the Lewis and Clark Viaduct. And without reading the numbers here to you, we definitely showed an increase in time of several minutes for certain movements, particularly eastbound. Eastbound. Westbound, it wasn't as bad, so I emphasize here the eastbound. But then what we did was those two areas where we mitigated some of the effects with the lane reconfiguration, we actually dropped a bit that delay quite a bit. We're still showing some delay in some of the travel times getting into this area. This does not reflect the effects of the technology of vehicles I mentioned earlier, but we are demonstrating that there is some effect, or a noticeable effect, on traffic with regard to particularly 670 and 70 with some of those improvements that I shared with you. But besides traffic, we looked at a bunch of other aspects with regard to sustainability, environment, land use, safety enhancements, things like that. And we did a very robust evaluation. I'll share what that thing looks like shortly, but we basically looked at 3 needs and 3 goals. The first 3 needs are to improve the physical condition of the interstate system and the bridge, optimize traffic system performance, and improve safety and security. And with the goals of improving choices, economic vitality and placemaking, as you can kind of see what we're doing with the North Loop, and also improving the opportunities for sustainability. We developed a very, very high-level matrix for all of these. I don't intend you to read that. But we basically quantified as much as we could to meet these needs and goals, and those that weren't quantified, we subjectively scored these. And that information is going to be available through the final report that's going to be done by the 1st of May. Next steps is we will have some stakeholder meetings and some presentations, 21st and 22nd. I'll give you the information on that on the next slide. The idea is to complete this study and identify segments of independent utility, which are segments that can be broken out, such as the bridge. That will be a standalone project, and that is the next thing that we're going to see things happening on. The environmental assessment will be starting on that this spring, the idea of completing it in 2019, and a very aggressive schedule, probably a design build to build that new bridge in 2022. So the only big decisions that are going to be made in the near future is going to be the bridge. Where's the bridge going to be, and how's the interchange going to connect up? This study basically assured that whatever bridge configuration is set up can work with any of those strategies that we mentioned, but the idea is not to implement any of those strategies. But the idea of extending Independence Avenue and bringing Route 9 to grade, we have no idea when that's going to happen. Or the idea of the North Loop advancing, we have no idea when that's going to happen either. So I want to emphasize that the only thing that we're going to see in the near future is going to be the new Buck O'Neill Bridge. We have upcoming public meetings coming up Wednesday, March 21st at Mid-America Regional Council, and the exact same presentation materials are going to be presented on Thursday, March 21st at Mark and 22nd at iWorks, which is like 16th in Burlington for those of y'all in North Kansas City. Beyond the Loop KC is a study website. The information that's presented at the meeting and the questions that are going to be presented at the meeting will be available on that website. So if you can't make the meeting, you can still participate, and we're always looking for input in that venue online as well. So try to keep this thing as abbreviated as possible. I don't know if we're answering questions now or not.
We are probably going to, if anyone has like maybe 1 or 2 questions, then information out and keep people in touch on this. Does anybody have a question? Really? Nobody?
No.
Wow. Are you guys awake?
Yes, Steve. And you've been involved, so I appreciate your presence here.
This really doesn't pertain to Fairfax, but I'm just wondering, the commercial businesses along Burlington that are going to be affected by less traffic flowing south, has the Chamber of Commerce over there or those businesses weighed in on?
That's a great question. About 2 years ago, we were part of a team that actually did one of the marked sustainability corridors that was done was the Burlington corridor. So the idea of putting Burlington on a road diet was introduced at that time, because the idea is there will be quite a bit of traffic that shifted from that route to this roadway. And at the time, a lot of those folks were wanting to do it because they saw the opportunities for bringing the street closer to them, the cycle track to connect up from the Broadway Bridge, from the Heart of America Bridge. MoDOT was reluctant at that time to do the road diet pending this study. Now the results of the study are out, so actually those folks are all on board. So this idea of Route 9 was kind of an extension of that study that was done 2 years ago. Yes, sir.
I was just kind of curious with the possibility of a deck covering the south.
Yep.
If there's been some collaboration.
Yeah, and that's actually, that was studied several times, and it reared its head just recently this week, if you saw the article Kevin Collinson did. I think some private developers have come along and I think with One Light and Two Light, that's really inspired a lot of that conversation. Without going back to my slides here, the compressed footprint slide that I showed, actually that also has the same type of opportunities for decking that's being done on the south side as well. To be honest with you, that's probably going to happen. Anything like that would happen before anything we would be doing on the north side. But we have looked at that opportunity from both sides, and that idea has brought itself up again. Yep.
All right, Ron, well, thank you very much. And we'll continue. Okay, really quick, we're going to do just a fun photo where everyone's kind of looking at the camera, because I realize every time I take a picture of you guys and post it on the website, everyone's going, so we're going to, let's do a fun little picture of everyone actually looking at me and smiling. You can even wave. It's casual, like you're so excited you can't stand it. Right? Okay, I'm going to take a couple pictures. 1, 2. Make sure your eyes are open and you're smiling. All right, thanks. Okay. Now I get to be the presenter to you guys, and Zach Flanders, who I'm going to not forget to introduce. Zach, if you want to come on up, he's the urban planner for the, can you hear me? The Unified Government, and he's been working on a big plan called the Northeast Master Plan, and hopefully you've heard of that by now because I've been sending out information on it for months. We are putting together a Fairfax Master Plan that will go and be a part of the Northeast Master Plan. And I'll let Zach say a few words, and then I'll do this little presentation.
Thanks, Melissa. I wanted to make just a few notes about the Northeast Master Plan before Melissa gets started. And first of all, why is the plan so important? As far as I know, the city has not done a plan for this area. And the Northeast area, the total area we're looking at includes from State Avenue north, 635 to the east, or to the west boundary and going east from there, and the river including Fairfax. So it's quite a large area. It's about 20,000 residents and 10,000 employees. And it's important because of how our municipal government works. We have our elected officials who set policy, set the budget, and one of the ways that they set the policy is by adopting plans. And that's where this is going. At the end of the day, this will be in front of our Board of Commissioners, and if they choose to adopt it, it'll become the plan for this area. And then how do we use this plan? Staff, we use it day to day in everything that we do. It's built into a lot of our procedures. So when the planning department, when we're doing plan review for private development, we always ask ourselves, does it conform to the master plan? And the same thing in public works, when they're doing design and engineering of their projects, they ask themselves, does this conform with the master plan? So that's one way that we use it. We also use it when we're doing our budgeting. So as we look at CMIP, if we can get things into the plan, that's the first step to then getting them into the budget. It also makes us much more competitive with our grants for federal funding. When we apply for federal fundings, one of the first items on every application is it in your plan? And so by getting these items that Melissa's going to present into the plan, that's going to make it more competitive. So what goes into the plan? It's a land use plan. One of the things I really like about planning is it's a chance to first take a step back and talk about values. So the conversation to begin with is, what do we value in this community? What is our vision for this area? And what are we really trying to do with the city? What are our goals? And so we've been having that conversation, and that then goes into specific land use plans for each property. It includes infrastructure plans. It includes lists of important projects that we want to tackle in the future. And one of the other important outcomes is the plan is a chance for groups that don't normally talk to each other to meet and have stakeholder meetings. City staff has been going around and meeting with different groups. We've been bringing different groups together. And so it really strengthens that civic fabric of our community that can really help make things happen and get things done and build trust. So that's another big outcome of the plan. We're about halfway through with the plan. We've had 2 large community meetings where we've been talking about vision and goals, and then getting into the more specifics of different place types and what people want to see on either commercial corridors or neighborhoods. And now is a great time for getting feedback on the things that Melissa are going to present, the specific ideas about Fairfax. Our next big community meeting is March 13th at Bertram Crothers Elementary School. We're actually having 2 meetings that day, one at noon and one at 6 o'clock p.m. That's elementary schools located at 11th and Waverly. And Melissa, maybe you can send that out after this meeting. And I just wanted to thank Melissa and the Fairfax Industrial Association for being so proactive and putting together this list. That's, I think, really great to be leading your own charge and putting in what your priorities are. And we're hoping that at the end of the day we can get all of this into the plan. It'll be adopted, and that's the first step to getting these ideas accomplished. So, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Zach. Okay, so you gotta bear with me. This is my first PowerPoint presentation ever, and my first time to do one. My little 8, well, I guess she's 12 now. Oh my gosh, she's old. It's like, oh, it's so easy to do it. I'm like, okay. So, and my voice is still not great from this flu thing, so just bear with me. But this master plan is, this is very near and dear to my heart, as you've heard me say a few times. We started a business in Fairfax 25 plus years ago, and it still looks today like it did 25 years ago. And we do a lot of business in Fairfax, and I would really like to see our district get some tender, loving care that it deserves. So with that being said, I'm going to keep myself on track by looking at my PowerPoint. Oh, can I go like this? Oh, okay, I got it. So first step is Fairfax Proud. That's kind of a theme, Richard, as I know you know. I started this at the festival. We have a lot to be proud about in Fairfax. We are almost 100 years old. We have the B-25 bomber was built there. We have the Cobb Point Park. We've got 120 businesses down there. Employs over 10,000 people, generates $5.4 billion in annual sales. I mean, people go down there, they don't necessarily see all that, but that's all going behind those walls. That's what we're doing. World famous brands including Kellogg's. They make the Cheez-Its. Almost all of the Cheez-Its in the world are made there. Certainty has the biggest fiberglass plant in the world, is in Fairfax. Owens Corning, makes fiberglass as well. They have the Pink Panther brand. The Fairfax General Motors assembly plant, and they'll be announcing soon a new vehicle that's going to be starting to be built down there. Between the 3 pipeline companies, Magellan, Phillips, and Exxon, 95% of our unleaded gas and diesel is stored in Fairfax. No, I mean, most people are like, it's kind of shocking when you think about it. 100% of the jet fuel comes out of Fairfax. The Fairfax Drainage District provides Fairfax's over $5 billion investment. with protects it with a 5-mile-long levee, flood wall, and flood control features. So, Steve looks pretty, but he does a lot of things besides just looking really nice and coming to all these meetings. He keeps us well protected. Just a little picture, kind of the Fairfax from the river. It's 2,000 acres. It was founded in 1922, so like I said, we're going to be 100 years old soon. At least the district will, not ourselves personally. The Fairfax Association was established in 1951, and that was when it was established because the city annexed the district, because obviously the city wanted to be a part of the property tax dollars. And the association was formed to make sure the business voices were heard and the district was taken care of. The board consists of 14 members representing businesses within Fairfax. The executive director, which is my position, reports to the board. We have luncheons, like today. We have newsletters, email blasts, public letters, website, one-on-one meetings. We have the festival, so we have a lot of things going on. And we work with our partners, Unified Government, the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, BPU, Fairfax Drainage District, Historic Midtown Northeast Association, the KCK Chamber, Union Pacific, Wyandotte Economic Development Council, excuse me. FIA is supported through resident business memberships and associate memberships. And we work specifically, we're not we're different than a chamber because we work directly to take care of the needs of Fairfax businesses. So that's our website. If you haven't been on the new website, I hope you go on and check it out. We've been working on it. We're going to continue to be adding things, but hopefully it's a good tool and a resource for all of you. Main concerns. Every time businesses have been surveyed over the last 20 plus years, and Steve, you and I have done many of those surveys, and John, a lot of this group, the top 2 concerns always are security and infrastructure. The lack of amenities is also amongst that. Fairfax is the second highest contributor in property tax to the UG. In 2016, we contributed $20 million in property and utility tax. $8 million of that went directly to the UG. Prior to Village West development, we were the top tax contributor for as long as I can remember. In Fairfax, in this master plan, we're going to address these issues: infrastructure, security, amenities, the B-25 Bomber Memorial, Cobb Point Park, and zoning. And some of this is subject to change. Like, I just got this kind of put together. We're going to tweak it, so this will be edited a little bit as we go. But we were kind of trying to. Rob Richardson asked me to put like time frame on it, short-term idea, long-term, and kind of the cost. And then funding sources. Where are we going to get the money to do this? So infrastructure. It's long-term. The infrastructure is really, honestly, I think it's been very neglected for years. This is what our streets look like. We do not have curbs and sidewalks on almost any of our streets. I mean, maybe a couple of the main streets, and that's it. We have employees, we have 10,000 employees down there. They want to take a 15-minute break. They go out and walk, and this is what they're walking on and with the traffic. And I've got people from Central Solutions, 2 ladies that are always coming down my street, and I'm like, don't twist your ankle on that road. So this is something we really need to work on and get curbs and sidewalks and the streets repaired and maintained, because that will change the look of our district. People come down into Fairfax, and businesses have told me, people that aren't familiar with Fairfax come down and they don't want to work there because it looks old and it looks unsafe. So it affects businesses in many ways. It affects you on how can you recruit. It affects on Greg Kendall, how does he get businesses to locate there? Like right now, we don't really have any vacancy, but that's not always the case when the economy isn't what it is today. So that's just some more pictures just to let you know this is pretty much what all of our streets look like. Medians, this is also like the medians. We need to get new medians, change the look of them. We could add some grass, add some greenery. This is a road that we've been looking at for quite some time that needs to be addressed. You can tell by the slope, it's that bottom picture of McCormick that curves to Kindleberger. It's was redone back in the 80s by the city, and it slopes, and so it causes flooding in the street, and it causes flooding to the business to the west. CMIP work. The association was able to work with the UG back in 2012 and got $100,000 of money designated in CMIP, where the association can determine priority and prioritize where to put that money. So $100,000 does not go very far with concrete. So I'm sure most of you are aware. So we would like to get that number up, and that of course is through partnering and working together. So 20 million property value, 8 million a year. I think we can figure out a way to maybe get that number higher. So anyways, the first work we had done was two or 3 years ago was on Sunshine Road. We had some repair work done on some of the curbs and sidewalks, but it didn't come close to really fixing all of Sunshine. We just did what we could with the money we had. Fiberglass Road is the second project, and that's in the works of being completed. That was a construction being done, and then this is what the new curbs and sidewalks look. That's Central Solutions there, I believe, isn't it, Mark and Chris? And street overlay, that's still going to be done here soon. So, I think I've said all of it. Anyway, this is a big thing. We really need to do something with the way our district looks in the streets, and also with rainfall. When it rains, it kind of looks like a lake, because we don't have any green grass, we don't have anything to really help absorb any of it, so there's a lot of things we can do with this planning to fix some of that. Okay, monument entrance. So most of my friends still do not know where Fairfax is. They're just split over in Johnson County. No one really knows. And I'm like, well, you've heard of General Motors. Like, yeah, isn't that over in Kansas City, Missouri? I'm like, no, you've heard it called the Fairfax Assembly Plant, right? And, so I'm like, cheeses, when you're eating those cheeses, that comes out of Fairfax. And I'm like, oh. So I think this is probably part of our reason why. Those are our 4 main entrances. There's no sign that this is Fairfax. So I would like to change that and get some monument entrance signage and really be proud of welcoming people into our district and letting them know that that's where they are. We have some money that was built into some new development on Kindleberger that's being paid in, and we can probably use, it's called the TDD, we can probably use some of that money with the UG and figure out short term how to get some of that done. And I'm talking like nice monument entrance signs. These are just some ideas, just some images I pulled off of the internet. But I kind of like that one in the middle, that Ned Smith Center, where then you've got where the digital messages. That would be a great way to communicate with our district, having those at each of our entrance points. We could announce the festival. And if there's a rain delay, we could put on there's a rain delay. And like last year, we went and put up more new signs. But it would, if there's security issues, there's just lots of things that we could be communicating to our district and the 10,000 people that come through there to work. It would be nice. And it doesn't have to look anything like that, but we need to do a study and figure it out. But those cost some money, but we've got some money coming into TDD that will be able to take care of that. Landscaping, the way we're kind of set up and built, we don't have a lot of areas, but it would be nice wherever we can to add some grassy areas, get a little green into our district instead of all the gray. There's, what else? Maybe some trees. We're thinking about, we've talked, well, John and the board, we haven't talked yet, but Rob Richardson and Zach and I talked about maybe revamping a spring cleanup. We did that in the past. We really need to get back to educating people about codes down there that make it business friendly, and get businesses, encourage businesses to clean up their areas. We have a lot of new businesses down there and some new development, and it's looking really nice, and we want that kind of to flow over to all the businesses down there. Lighting, I'll be working with BPU, they don't know this yet, but this is part of the master plan, to do a study on how we can make it brighter in Fairfax at night, because brighter is more welcoming and it also deters crime. Infrastructure, drainage, sewer systems. This is about the Fairfax Drainage District. Not really sure how to short-term, long-term, and this is ongoing. There's lots of things. FDD goes around and identifies areas that aren't currently draining well. Steve's aware of the Kimmelburg-McCormick area. He's going to work with the city on doing a study on that. Steve also noted that Fairfax Trafficway, south of their location, that during heavy rainstorms, the street does not drain, causes deep water on the road. So he's going to talk to the city about that, because that's a safety issue when we have lots of traffic on that road. Harvester Road, there's no sewer system. Was never built when they built that road. And that's a big problem for Panel Systems Plus and some other businesses right there. And let's see, FDD has established a priority to replace aging corrugated metal pipe sewers as part of their ongoing maintenance program. Those are that's the type of the pipes that were used, and unfortunately they're not going to last much longer. So, but Steve's on top of it, so we've got our drainage district on top of it. Railroad crossings, those are, I get a lot of comments about those, and they're not nice. they're not like, oh, these are great. We really need to work with our partner, Union Pacific. We're going to try to get a semi-annual meeting set up and start. You can't even tell in these pictures how rough they kind of are, but they're pretty rough. We've had some work done on them, but we could hopefully get a lot better with that. So we're going to be working on that. Dedicated police patrol car. I've mentioned that a few times. That was one of our big things for years. We were trying to get a patrol car dedicated down here. We didn't have one. And we shared with the whole northeast area. And there was just a lot more serious crime going on next to us than the little things that, the kind of crime that was going on in Fairfax. So we didn't ever have a car down there. About 10 years ago, Mayor Reardon was mayor. He committed to getting a patrol car down here. In 2016, that car was pulled because of the officer shootings, and Chief Ziegler had the cars go from 1-man to 2-man, which we obviously supported. We needed to keep them safe. In 2017, last year, Chief Ziegler brought back Officer Bunick. He's part-time down in Fairfax. He's there 5 days a week in the afternoons, right, Brian? Is that right? Okay. He's doing a great job, and he's on top of things for us, and it really helps a lot, because there are things going on down there. It's just a different type of crime, and we need to protect businesses. We need to protect the employees. We want to keep people down there and wanting to work there. And Chief Ziegler is hoping with the new hires that he'll be able to make that a full-time car at the end of this year, 2018. Restaurants, convenience shops, and gas stations. We don't really have much. We have Phillips 66 gas station and a little convenience shop in there. Carter Energy has that new area is commercial fueling. Flamethrowers Barbecue has a small little drive-through for lunch service, but people, there really is nowhere to go to have a quick lunch in Fairfax. You have to go outside of Fairfax. But that being said, like a McDonald's or something like that, not that McDonald's is that healthy, but restaurants like that, the most business you're going to get done down there is Monday through Friday, probably 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it's got to be a type of operation that they can make money, make a profit, have a nice little maybe type of cafe or something. They could have a little drive-through coffee. I think something like that would go. Tony Privateer is on board with that, but we just, so if anyone thinks of anything, it would be nice to get and work with UG and try to recruit and get someone down there like that. Some additional gas station or convenience shops are also have been asked about by our business members. Hike and bike trails in Fairfax. So, everyone's got the hike and bike trails as part of community planning now. We support, and we've been working with the UG on them. They want to be able that there's a bike trail that's come across the Missouri River from downtown Kansas City, Missouri, and it's connected over, and they'd like a way to be able to get then that trail to connect over to Riverside. So there's some grant money that the UG, and we support the UG to apply for this, where then you could bring that trail down 7th Street. Then we're saying move it over 1 street, bring it down Brinkerhoff, and then connect it up to the new US 169 bridge. Moving it off of 7th Street because there's a lot of truck traffic and they're backing up in and out like at Kellogg's and places, and that would keep the bikers more safe. But the new 69 bridge has a bike trail on it, so that makes a lot of sense to us. So we definitely support that, and I think that's something that's going to be moving forward. This trail, 7th Street to Brinkerhoff, is less challenging than a trail that's been discussed and been kind of a hot topic, which would be up on the levee. The levee route would expose the flood protection infrastructure to potential vandalism and tampering, thereby increasing the risk of flooding. Additionally, the levee route would also put trail users at risk from the constant truck traffic of FDD, maintenance staff, contractors, pipeline workers, and railroad crews, increasing the liability risk to Fairfax and adjacent businesses. Plus we have all those fuel tanks there. I mean, there's just a lot going on back there behind the scenes, and it's not necessarily something that should be open to the public. The continued challenges to the hike and bike trail. The mission of FDD, as prescribed by the Code of Federal Regulations and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, is to provide reliable flood protection and not permit any encroachment or trespass upon the levee right-of-ways, which will adversely affect the efficient operation of maintenance of the project works, since any small neglect could easily result in damage to property, loss of life, and serious impairment of public confidence. This is a picture back from when we first started our business, I think, is when we were having the flooding in 1993. And, it's easy to quickly, when nothing's going on and it's not raining and flooding, it's easy to forget how quickly water can really become an issue. That we had just started our business down there and we had to evacuate for a week. And we didn't flood, but there were problems, and we're surrounded by river. So we've got river all around us. So flooding can be a really big issue really quick. So therefore, in the process of considering a levee trail, it's essential to ensure that FDD's mission is not in any way compromised, nor is its liability resulting from damages or personal injury claims be increased. And then this also goes in, and I'm not so great at this, Steve has explained this to me a million times, but I am not an engineer. The uniqueness of how the levee system is built, but if you look through that, it talks about it has a thin to non-existent upper clay blanket throughout its entire system, which is not conducive to withstanding hydrostatic pressures from rising groundwater during periods of elevated river stages. This basically, it can cause this complex system of under seepage pressure relief. And you can read through that, but to help fix that, we have 127 pressure relief wells, 12 miles of transmission, header, collector, and tow drain lines, 12 high-capacity pumping stations, 32 high-voltage transformers, 130 valves and gates, and a PLC automation, with radio modem monitoring and communication system. So any failure of this could be catastrophic to our district. As a result, I'm not going to read all of that, but you can read through there. This is a big issue, and it's not something where we can just open the gates and and have the public just start hiking and biking across the levee. So the Drainage District has indicated that it's willing to discuss the possibility of allowing public access, but a lot of things would have to be met security-wise for any of this to happen. Excuse me. B-25 Bomber Memorial. So, a lot of you probably heard Dan Desco last month. He's very passionate about the B-25. I think it's a great history of our district. We had Rosie the Riveters down, making planes. There were other aircraft that was also built in Fairfax during the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. We had our own airport on the old General Motors property, which is now the new development of Central Industrial Park, which is on Kindleberger, which is now where Plastic Omnium sits, and the new comprehensive logistics building, which is that 800,000 square foot new facility. That's very impressive and very big. I've been in there. It goes on forever. They are supplying their suppliers to General Motors. Charles Lindbergh called Fairfax Airport the best airport in the nation. Dwight Eisenhower frequently flew into the Fairfax Airport. So that's some pretty cool history. Dan Dusko and Rob Richardson and I, we met and we kind of talked about what could we do. Dan would love to have a memorial down there, and I agree. And I think our board and others agree. We really should get some type of memorializing the history. One of the ideas is we could have a museum. You know, we could really put our heads together and figure this out. We could have a museum. Rob really loves the idea of having an actual plane down there in the museum. There are some planes. Dan knows about places and people that have these parts and planes. Of course, you know, he's on all that. You could make it an education center for Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and other programs. I think there's a lot you could do with that. And, you know, that could become an attraction for people around the world to come and see this museum. So there's potential. This is just the very beginning stages, but this is what we're talking about. And it would take a lot of different partnering. Obviously, it's long term, but I think there's a lot of potential for that. So we'll continue to talk. Caw Point Park. Caw Point Park, most of you hopefully know or have been there by now, because we have the festival there every year, and it is beautiful. And that is an actual picture off of one of our cameras. I think it's Paul Laberga's camera. That was like a sunset at one of the festivals, and that's the sculpture there of Lewis and Clark looking out at the river in downtown. It's already established, so basically kind of funding is we need to maintain it long term. It gets vandalized quite often, so there's things with that we need to take care of. And there's improvements, like we have, this year we'd really like to get where this point is, where Lewis and Clark are pointing. You can get down to the water from there, and people do. Mike Caldwell, who I think probably a lot of you have met, he was kind of the founder of this park. It's very rough terrain to get from that point down to the water, the bank. And we would like to, you can load onto the boat, because we have boat tours, and it would be nice to get some steps made. But of course, they'd have to go along with the setting. And Mike already has talked to someone, and where there's plans, and it'll cost like $12,000. But I think it's something short-term to look at, and it might be nice to get done for in time for the festival, and have the boat tours right there, which is, right? Yeah. Festival committee, do you agree? Because, and bring it in, but it wouldn't just be for the festival, it would be for people year-round that are using the park. So when I really talk to the UG, and how can we get this done, and how can we get it done before October 4th. So anyways, Lewis and Clark, they, on their expedition, they camped there, and so, I don't know if there's anything else in there. It's just, you know, it's a beautiful park, and it's a big history. So we've got B-25 Bomber Museum here, maybe, we've already got the park. So those are the ideas. Zoning. Fairfax is zoned for commercial and industrial use only. It is zoned as an M3, which means a big deal to developers. It's zoned only, it's for like 95% of it is heavy industrial. We have heavy truck traffic and manufacturing, and that doesn't mix with residential use. And so last year we had something come up where a group applied for a special use permit to put a 80-bed federal prisoner halfway house in there where prisoners would be living. And we're like, this just is not a good mix, it's not a good fit for our district. And we just want to make sure that's part of the Northeast Master Plan so that these type of special use permits can't come up in the future, and so we can kind of avoid that problem. And so that's my presentation, and I got it done in the right amount of time. I didn't mess it up too bad. So what do you think? I can put the first pictures. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Richard?
Isn't that M3 designation, there's not, am I right that there's not
many business parks in the nation that have that designation?
That is correct. So that's like a really big deal for Great Kendall.
Less than, I think there's less than 5 in the
Yeah.
population.
I don't know what it is, but I know it's hard to get an M3. We have that, and that helps get certain manufacturing businesses.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So yeah, we don't want to mess with that. So, any other questions? Do you guys like this? Are you in support? This is all for Fairfax. It's not, just me. Just because I've been wanting this for 25 years doesn't mean you all have wanted it for 25 years, right? Just some nice streets and sidewalks and some grass. So anyway, we will continue with this. Yes? Sorry, Joe.
Will the city, the money that we're spending down there now, and some of the needs we need, such as curbs and gutters and sidewalks, that is normally a city expenditure. Is that going to have to come out of the budget that we have for other, or are we going to be responsible for just improving all of Fairfax out of the money that they're going to make available back to us out of the $8 million they take from us?
We're going to have to partner together and work together to try to figure out ways to get more of that money flowing back into Fairfax.
So the city doesn't have any long-range plans themselves to improve curbs or gutters or road stones?
Zach, you want to speak to that?
Sure. So what Melissa presented will go into Northeast Master Plan, which is the city's plan, which will then be adopted. So there will be in the plan getting streets and sidewalks and curbs and medians. And our budget is very difficult we have a lot of needs, and we have not that much revenue compared to the needs. And it's going to be difficult, but the idea with this plan is to move in the direction of reinvesting in the Northeast, including Fairfax. I think one of the things that we can do with this plan is get some federal funding for a lot of these projects. And when you apply for a federal grant, they usually cover 80%, and the local match is 20%. So for example, the 7th Street to Brinkerhoff plan, where we could redo sidewalks, curbs, add the bike trail along that, connecting to the bridge going to Riverside. I think that's a really good candidate for submitting for grants and getting that project done, where for every dollar we spend towards it, we get $4 of federal money. So I think being strategic, getting it in the plan first, that allows us to compete for those federal grants. Being strategic about how we spend our money so we can match it up with what the federal grants are. And then the rest is going to be a combination of, spending more of the UG budget on streets and sidewalks in Fairfax and in the Northeast in general. And as you know, I think sidewalks are one of those things that pay for themselves because they're relatively inexpensive compared to most transportation infrastructure. And they, I think, make a big improvement to the value of properties that are served by the sidewalks, so that increases their revenues. Those incremental movements that build the attractiveness of the district, I think, are a good thing.
Thank you.
I have a basic question. What is the number one what is the first thing you're going to do? I've heard all the talk for 50 years. What's number one? Sidewalk, street, property, crime, the bridge, and help the community, the 2 bridges. What are we going to do the first thing? And who's going to start?
Well, I think that's going to be on our commission to.
After every year, I still the same thing. When and where.
I can tell you one of the first things we're doing is submitting for a Safe Routes to School project around Crothers Elementary. We're submitting that at the end of the month, and we think it's going to be competitive because it's going to be reflected in the plan. And so that would put sidewalks between Northwestern Middle School and Crothers Elementary and 11th Street. So that would be a large sidewalk project. So that's one of the first things that we're doing.
I've seen sidewalks from 10th and Walker down to 10th and Washington. that no housing on the west side of the street, and they got sidewalks completed. Ridiculous. Wasting money.
Well,
Everybody's needed there. But anyway, that's another.
There's a lot of emotion and passion behind all of this for the whole Northeast area. You know, I don't live in the Northeast area. I live in Prairie Village, but I've had a business down in Fairfax, and I've worked a lot with the Northeast Committee or community through food and toy drives and a cadet program. And
I walked over cleaning up the airport in 1951.
See?
Fairfax Airport, yes I did. What happened to Fairfax Airport except the closing day? That was a landmark we had in Kansas, Kansas. Very few people here know about the Fairfax Airport.
Well, we're hoping. Right. Well, then you can help then support the idea of that museum, because we want to keep that history and educate people on that. Well, hopefully, we're going to have to move on because it's 1 o'clock. Sorry, but I know this is a big passionate hot button for many. But hopefully with this long-term plan, we can all be optimistic that we can work together and start seeing it happen. It's all related. So, all right, with that, we're going to turn this over for the door prize. Don't leave, because you could win something really big. David Melhoff is chief.
Yeah, let's.
I think most of you know David. He's our chief communications officer for BPU.
A couple of things here. I talked to the administrative folks here at the building. They've got the arm raised, so no one has to worry about getting tickets to get out of here. We're not going to keep you here all day, so just to leave the parking garage. It's great to have you guys here again. On behalf of the board, general manager, and all the staff, we always love hosting you all here. It would be great to see this type of crowd at a board meeting sometime, just saying. So, today's a special day. It's International Women's Day.
Yes.
And it's so neat to see so many business women here in the audience. So let's give the women in business a hand. We all know it, guys. They're the ones that get stuff done. Just saying. Okay. My colleagues from the Utility Service Department, Patrice Townsend and her team. Patrice joined us. She had a previous meeting.
Do you want to draw?
Yes, let's have Patrice. She donated some fabulous prizes. Some pretty cool ones.
Our business card in there?
You get it?
Well, they got a seat when I walked in.
But throw Joe's in there. I've got 8 of mine in there, so go ahead, Joe. I'm here all night. Please tip your waiters and bartenders. So this one is a goodie bag with a really cool cup here to keep things cold and hot. And it's got all kinds of neat things in here. A charger for your cell phone and pens. And just a lot of cool tchotchkes in this bag. A little bag of fun right here. What do we have?
Kirby. I didn't realize.
Kirby DeMott.
You're here.
Finish. Congratulations, Kirby. All right. All right. We've got a couple more prizes, okay? Okay, we have the fabulous Power of Community calendar. And these this year's edition, photographs taken by residents of the community. And we picked some of the best photographs. Okay, so you got the calendar. Let's get the winner first, and we'll tell what else is involved in the calendar.
No, can't you just have the calendar?
No, somebody put some other nice things in there.
Regina Cohen. Regina, KCK Community College.
Regina, KCK.
Oh, well,
Must be present to win. I'm very sorry. And the next winner, David Melhoff, ladies and gentlemen, David Melhoff. No. Okay.
Okay, Julie Robertson.
Julie Robertson. You get a calendar and 2 tickets to Sporting KC against DC United. Our hometown Sporting KC. There you go. We have one more prize, a calendar, and, oh boy, Now, that is in the, just so you know, Julie, that's in the Budweiser zone, the Bud Zone there, all you can eat and drink. Sounds fabulous. Now, this one here is another beautiful calendar and 2 tickets on St. Patty's Day in the Bud Zone at Sporting KC. Just saying.
Mary Kern.
Mary Kern.
Right there.
Congratulations. Women want it today. Thank you all for coming. You guys have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Probably not for next week.
Hiding under the camera the whole time.
See you next month.
Right.